fellow travelers on the journey of life. This is Jamie of Pandora Astrology along with Natha and Julia, and we have news for you in September of 2019. There are some interesting events going on this month, which I like to call Epiphany days. Epiphany Day is when a fast-moving planet like Mercury or Mars or possibly Venus forms a conjunction to the sun. And when it does this, it'll be fast-moving, and it's a really important and I think special part of the cycle. It's really the beginning and the ending of the cycle. And here in the beginning of September, we're experiencing both of these happening very close together. Mercury is right here trailing the sun. You see that this chart is set for September 1st. Mercury is trailing the sun, and the sun is catching up with Mars. So by September 2nd, Mars, the sun has hopped over Mars, so they have formed their conjunction at 9 degrees. And then very shortly after that, Mercury hops over the sun and conjuncts it at 11 degrees. Now, why does it matter? I call these Epiphany days because they are days of fast motion, of direct motion, of really forward movement regarding that planet's themes. Mars's themes are themes of assertion, of will, of knowing what you want and going after it. Also can be themes of frustration and anger, but that's mostly when Mars is retrograde or slow or in a sign that it doesn't really like. So when Mars conjuncts the sun, we have what I like to call heroic Epiphany Day. Mars is the hero, the action hero, the warrior, the pioneer of the zodiac. And so when it conjuncts the sun, there is a burst of heroic energy, a burst of decisiveness, of confidence. And this is a ride that you can get on, especially if it happens at a degree that hits some, particular planets in your own chart. So Mars is conjuncting the sun at 9 degrees in Virgo. And that means that if you've got stuff in your chart at or near 9 degrees Virgo or Pisces or Sagittarius or Gemini, then you would be feeling this transit. I want to show you the page on our site, the Mars page, where this cycle is shown. And this diagram isn't current. I will make it current before you see this video. But you can see that from the retrograde day to the direct day, Mars is moving backwards. And here, actually, it is current because this is the date when Mars direct conjuncts the sun at 9 degrees Virgo. And it's sort of opposite to the last time that happened here in July of 2017. So it takes a couple of years for this to happen, and then it'll happen again in a couple more years from now. So this is really a train that you want to get on. Use this for making decisions, for taking actions, for figuring out what you want and setting your direction for that. Now we know that Mercury has 2 Epiphany days, not just one. And here on the site, and you can find the link to this in the YouTube description right underneath this video. You'll be able to see these diagrams yourself. These are the 3 Mercury retrograde cycles of this year. And this one right here is the most recent one that we had in July. The upcoming one is coming in November. And you can see right here is the date where Mercury is direct and conjuncts the sun at 11 degrees of Virgo. Taking a long time to come up on the screen. But this diagram shows you how the Mercury cycle works, and the page describes it really well. And Mercury's cycle is really useful for you if you work in an office, and especially if you are a writer or a communicator in any form, whether what you write is fiction, nonfiction, ad copy, poetry, it doesn't matter. Mercury's cycle can be really useful. And when Mercury is direct, fast, and conjuncting the sun, this is the time when the ideas come. This is the time to make your plans. This is the time to set your schedules for writing, for running the office. And you remember, you probably already know about Mercury retrograde, how messy things can get, how tangled things can get during Mercury retrograde. That happens for about a 3 week period every 4 months. And this is basically the opposite of that. So now is the time when projects can proceed forward at speed. Deadlines that you set now, you should be able to make because you can have a reasonable expectation of that. And look ahead for when the next Mercury retrograde period is coming, because if you have deadlines there, well, things are likely to really get snarled up. So this particular set of connections between Mars and Mercury and the Sun are all happening in Virgo, joined by Venus and Juno, and at some places during the month by the Moon. And I think that Natha and Julia has something to say about how that might feel and some more sort of fine-tuned interpretations for what you can do about that. Hey, Julia, do you have any thoughts about this?
Sure, Jamie. That was all pretty good stuff. Many people are so familiar with the Mercury retrograde phenomenon, and they're so much less familiar with these epiphany cycles. But they're just as important. You know, like you were saying earlier, when you know things are going to slow down, knowing when things are going to speed up and work for you is really great when it comes to just hitting while the iron is hot. And this Mercury Greater Epiphany Day, I'm really excited about because Mercury is so strong in its own sign of Virgo. It's moving really fast. Once it gets to the center of the sun, you know, it's going to get a little supercharge of energy, which is, you know, known by ancient and medieval astrologers as being, actually, I think it's just medieval, kazemi, meaning that it gets like a little bit strengthened right when it's in the heart of the sun. So if you have any great ideas around that period, around that 24, maybe even a little bit longer sort of time frame of that actual conjunction, you know, you got to write down those ideas because they're really going to serve you in good stead for the rest of the cycle. Natha, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I love what both of you have said. And what really stands out to me is that all of this is happening in the sign of Virgo. And so both Mars and Mercury can be like excitable, right? And so when we think of like Greater Epiphany Day and Heroic Epiphany Day, there's this sort of, I envision like fireworks going off. But I would say that because they're both in the sign of Virgo, that we want to make sure that we're being really discerning and that we're being very practical. We're bringing some of these Virgo qualities in that will be more grounding and more logic based, because if we can have our epiphanies through the flavor of Virgo, probably going to be more effective, and they're probably going to stick a little bit more than they would otherwise. So yeah, I'll hand it back to you, Jamie.
Well, if you enjoyed this video today about Mercury and Mars direct fast and having their epiphanies, then you'll probably really love the horoscopes that we're now putting out every month. Look for those on our YouTube channel. And you may know that we have a newsletter that comes out about every week with one of these videos in it. You can sign up for that at pandoraastrology.com, and you can always check our Instagram bio for more good links like that. And we'll see you guys around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.